Hi, this is Brendan from Watto Training, and in this trainer tutorial, we look at driving hazards for C-class learners. This tutorial focuses on teaching young novice drivers how to recognize and respond to driving hazards. Trainers must focus observation and scanning techniques in their learners from the very start of the training program. This is a key hazard perception skill that learners need to use to avoid crashes. What is the difference between a young and a novice driver? Young drivers are generally 16 to 25 years of age. Novice drivers are new to the road. They, for example, hold provisional licenses or have had very little driving experience. Young novice drivers, therefore, are young adults who are comparatively new to the experience of driving or riding on the road. Information on the Vicroads website tells us that hazard perception skills take a long time to develop, so new drivers are more at risk of crashing in their first 12 months of driving. What is a hazard in relation to road safety? A hazard can be any possible source of danger on or near the road that could lead to a crash, and it can come from any direction. What is a risk in relation to road safety? Risk is how great the chance that someone will be harmed by the hazard. Research by the Centre for Accident Research and Road Safety, Queensland, CARS-Q, provided the following general findings into young novice drivers. Young drivers are more likely to make driving errors because they are still developing the psychomotor, visual perception, and hazard perception skills associated with driving. Psychomotor learning is the relationship between cognitive functions and physical movement. Psychomotor learning is demonstrated by physical skills such as movement, coordination, manipulation, dexterity, strength, speed, actions which demonstrate the gross motor skills such as driving a vehicle. Young drivers could find themselves in riskier circumstances because they tend to overestimate their driving skills and abilities whilst underestimating risks and hazards associated with the road environment and their driving behaviour. Young drivers frequently drive smaller and older cars with fewer safety features or do not use the safety features such as seatbelts. Certain personal characteristics can place young drivers at higher risk of a road crash. Age and agenda, neurological and maturation process, feeling strong emotions. Let's take a look at age and gender. Younger male drivers are at higher risk than both older drivers and younger female drivers. Neurological and maturation process. The adolescent period is associated with increased risk-taking behavior attributed to the extended process of brain development. Feeling strong emotions. Young drivers are more likely to drive because they experience or want to experience strong emotions such as excitement and anger. Lifestyle characteristics that can also increase the crash risk of young drivers include increased exposure to high-risk travel times and competing commitments. Let's take a look at increased exposure to high-risk travel times, particularly at night and on weekends for social, i.e. high alcohol hours, or employment commitments. Competing commitments. Juggling study, work, family, and time with friends can make young novice drivers vulnerable to fatigue, impacting on their hazard perception skills, which exacerbates crash risk. Examples of hazards. Hazards in residential areas include a child chasing a ball onto the road, vehicles emerging from intersections, side streets, and driveways, car doors opening, a vehicle merging into your lane or stopping suddenly in front of you, pedestrians, school zones, rain after a long dry spell, flooded roads, slippery road surface after rain, animals running out into the road, mainly cats and dogs, cyclists and motorcyclists. Now let's look at hazards on country roads. This includes narrow country lanes, possibly only one wide enough for one vehicle, heavy vehicles, caravans, cyclists, wildlife and animals, farm animals, slow-moving vehicles such as tractors. How do we manage road hazards? See, think, do. These are the three parts of hazard perception. Now, the source for this information is the Vicroads website, and it's also promoted by the mylicense.sa.gov.au website as well. And it's a good process that trainers can implement with their learner drivers. So C, scan the road ahead with your eyes to spot any hazards. Think, thinking about what you need to do ahead of time to respond safely. And do, acting in response to the hazard you see, for example, slowing down or creating more space. Low risk driving. Driving is never risk-free, but you should aim to drive low risk. A low-risk driver has good observation, speed management, and road positioning skills. Speed management. Drive at a speed that is within the speed limit, and this will allow you to react and completely stop within the distance you can see is clear. When you see potential hazards, slow down and prepare to stop, referred to as setting up the brakes, for example, when pedestrians are close to the road or when other vehicles may turn in front of you. Slow down on wet, icy, or gravel roads where it will take longer for your vehicle to stop. Road positioning. Position your vehicle to maximize the distance from hazards, referred to as buffering. For example, moving to the left at the crest of a hill to create space from oncoming vehicles, or moving away from parked cars to avoid pedestrians and doors opening. Check your mirrors before making any lane change to your speed or position. Crash avoidance space. A safe, low-risk driver maintains a crash avoidance space completely around the vehicle. The crash avoidance space is managed by adjusting the vehicle's speed and road position. Reaction time and response time. To determine the crash avoidance space to the front of the vehicle, you need to take into account two key factors: reaction time and response time. Let's have a look at each of those. So with reaction time is the time the driver needs to see the information, perceive what it means, decide on the response, and instigate that response. A driver who is fit, concentrating, alert, and not affected by alcohol, drugs, fatigue, or a distraction will still require about 1.5 seconds to react to a hazard. Response time. Response time is the time required to take action. Generally, a minimum of 1.5 seconds is needed to respond. In many situations, braking may be the only possible response. Swerving is rarely appropriate and can result in a more severe crash, for example, a head-on collision. Situational awareness. Learners must be aware of what is in front of them, behind them, and beside them. This ensures that they are ready for unexpected hazardous situations and have the time to take necessary actions. The learner needs to position the seat and the steering wheel correctly. The driver needs to be able to see as far ahead as possible in the traffic, aiming high. The learner must keep 2 hands on the steering wheel, either the 9-3 position or 10-2. Learners must actively scan the road environment. Scanning means a driver takes in the whole scene 360 degrees around the vehicle. Look 12 seconds ahead. Look up 12 seconds ahead. In a 60 km/h zone, this means looking up to 200 meters ahead. On a freeway at 90 km/h, it is up to 300 meters ahead. Use your peripheral vision. Peripheral vision is vision as it occurs outside the point of fixation, that is, away from the center of gaze. Be aware of blind spots. Blind spots include window pillars, door pillars, and rear panels. The learner must keep their eyes on the move, and the learner must make sure that their mirrors are correctly set up. Learners must use their rear view mirrors and side mirrors at frequent intervals, especially before signaling, braking, and turning, to check what other road users are doing. Moving your head. Effective scanning means the learner constantly moves their eyes and/or their head when driving so that they can detect hazards that may arise ahead, to the sides and behind their vehicle. Shoulder checks. Learners must conduct shoulder checks prior to moving off from the side of the road, lane changes, as well as prior to conducting maneuvers such as the hill start, U-turn, and three-point turn, commonly called the turnaround in Queensland, to identify and manage hazards safely. Signalling. The learner is required to signal in the correct direction long enough to give sufficient warning to other drivers and pedestrians when intending to turn, diverge, move into the edge of the road or curb, enter a line of traffic, at a T-section where the continuing road curves to the left or right, leaving the continuing road to proceed straight ahead onto a terminating road. The learner should signal in the correct direction for 5 seconds before moving off from a stationary position. Apply the system of vehicle control. What is the system of car control? The system originated from Hendon UK Police Academy in 1936 and is still regarded by many as the most effective system for modern drivers. The system provides the learner with a predictable routine which can be applied in sequence on the approach to any hazard. Application of the system of vehicle control. By correct application of the system, the learner will always be in the correct place on the road, traveling at the correct speed and with the correct gear engaged. Let's take a look at the system of vehicle control in the diagram. Step 1. Make a plan. Observe the hazard and decide the correct course. Sorry, it's not a U-turn, it's a right turn. 2. Mirrors. Check for following and overtaking traffic. 3. Signal your intention to other road users. 4. Speed adjustment, which in this case would be slow down on the approach to the T-section and position. Reduce safe speed to a safe rate of approach and arrival at the hazard. 5. Gears and mirrors. Select an appropriate gear to clear the hazard without a further gear change. Check mirrors again before entering the T-section. And step 6, evasive action. Give way if necessary, and when clear, accelerate and follow the road. Giving way. Give way means to slow down and, if necessary, stop in order to prevent a crash from happening. Learners must always give way at a give way sign and check it's safe to continue. Give way signs are placed at intersections and other places where other vehicles have priority. There are also lots of situations on the road where you must give way even if there is no sign. Leave yourself an out. This means creating a space cushion around the vehicle. Make sure your learners don't follow other vehicles too closely and do their best to leave at least the front and one side open. This gives the learner an out if someone enters their safety cushion. Following distance. In Queensland and Victoria, 2-second following distance is promoted. In other states and territories, 3 seconds is promoted. I would recommend as a driver trainer leaving at least a 3-second gap in good conditions. Drive to the conditions. If it is raining, traffic is heavy, or it is late at night, the learner needs to slow down and allow extra space between their car and the car in front. In Queensland, we're looking at doubling the following distance, so 2 seconds in the dry, 4 seconds in the wet. Distracted driving. Distracted driving includes using mobile phones, eating or drinking, loud music, conversation, and failing to pay attention to the road. Doing something else while driving puts extra demands on the learner, which may reduce his or her capabilities. Fatigue. Signs of fatigue include a feeling of vagueness, restlessness, sore eyes, headache, yawning, and difficulty maintaining concentration. Fatigue results in poor judgment and slow reaction times. In summary, managing hazards. Trainers must encourage their learners to apply the following safe driving strategies. Scan for hazards in front and around you. Use the 2-second rule, or 3 seconds, depending on where you are. Again, I recommend 3. Watch out for changing road conditions, including roadworks, and drive to the conditions. This has been Brendan from Watto Training. Thanks for following this tutorial.